Good evening from Montreal. And we're here for a little bit of discussion here tonight. And I guess the topic tonight is going to be politics, the political process, which has been with us for a very, very long time. And where to begin this debate? Maybe begin it with some words, if I can say, politics is just a reality show. Really think about it and let that sink in, because this is what it is. Politics is a show. It's a stage show. Look at it as a choreographed show. Look at it as a movie. This is I this is the way I see politics as a movie, in a sense, okay? A movie where you have so-called actors, and I would call them the politicians. I would call them bad actors. I would call them, or whatever. I don't think they're good actors or whatever, because I don't know. Maybe some people do buy into what they're saying. It's possible, but you know, here we have here we have a political system. Every country has a political system or whatever, some form of government. Okay, this is a commonality that we have. No matter where you go in the world, there is some system of government, some rulers, some leaders, some parties. This is a world phenomenon or whatever, in that sense. And you know, politics is an illusion. Politics is not reality. It's not based on reality or whatever. And I'm going to tell you something or whatever, which you already know, that in politics, you never have a real choice. You don't have a choice. In what way, will you ask? You're presented with two or three parties, okay? You're presented, I don't know, maybe in some countries, even more parties or whatever, I should say, you're presented with. And all these parties will create the illusion, I repeat again, will create the illusion that they're so different from each other, that they espouse different values, different ideologies, different programs. I hope you've discovered by now that this is all illusion. They're not there. Listen, politicians are not there for you and me. This is the illusion they, they, that they still continue to try to create, okay? That they're there for you and me, that they're there for. I mean, if they were there, listen, I'm going to ask you a question, okay? I'm going to ask you to reflect a bit. If they were there for you and me, okay, why is it that when you go into society, you see rising inflation, you see the lack of services in many levels, in medical services, in school services, you name it, you see a lack of services. So they're there for us. If they were really there for us, wouldn't they create a better life for us? Wouldn't they create a better world for us? This is what I'm trying to say, okay? But the reality is not like that. I don't know about you. Take a look at history. I'm not telling you to go back into the Middle Ages, but just take a look at recent history. Take the last, I don't know, maybe let's say take the last 20 to, I don't know, 30, 40 years, okay, let's say. And ask yourself this one question. Ask yourself the one question, okay? Are you better off today Are you better off today than you were, let's say, in the 60s and the 70s, and maybe the early 80s too, if we can throw it? Can you say yes to that question or whatever? Are you better off economically? I don't think so. I don't think you're better off economically or whatever when rents are rising every day, when the price of food is rising every day. That's not being better. Things are getting drastically worse, very much worse. You know, I'm looking at a program. I'm looking at a program on television this morning or whatever, where someone was saying, since we're coming back to school, September is usually the time for how do you say, for students to come back to school. And they were saying there's an organization here in Montreal or whatever, I forget the name of it, which is giving away free of cost. They're giving away school supplies to families for their children. So imagine this. This is being better off, giving school supplies to children, giving how do you say, breakfasts in school to children. This is from a very long time ago. I worked in the school system for a little while. And this is about this is a long time ago, even 15, 20 years ago. I worked in the school system. Even at that time, I will never forget. I worked in one school, and I came in usually to come in earlier before my shift. This was my style, And so I saw the students were, they were there half an hour earlier, 40 minutes earlier before the class. So I turned around to a teacher and I said, listen, I said, madam, I said, what are these students doing here? I said, classes begin, they're not going to begin in 5 minutes. And she told me, she goes, well, they're here for breakfast. I go, what? I go, they're here for breakfast. I said, man, it took me by shock, it took me by surprise and shock. It took me that these school children had to be given something nutritious. They had to be given to begin the day that their families could not even afford to feed them adequately and nutritionally. So let's fast forward. Can you imagine the problems today? Can you imagine the problems today with this rising inflation that we see around ourselves? I'm going to say this or whatever. Politics is not the answer. And what does that mean? You say, well, what is this guy saying? Politics is not the answer. We are not going to find the answers in politics. We are not going to find the answers to our dilemmas in politics. Because our politicians, what they do, every once in a while, they take a few pennies, okay? They take a few pennies, say, okay, here for you, the population, we give you a few pennies or whatever. And why do I say pennies? Because it's even quite substantial amounts. I'm not denying that. But think of it this way. Think of it this fucking, think of it this way. Think of it, okay? Compare what they give you to what they give to wartime efforts. Reading in the USA that billions, I don't know if it was 19 billion, I don't know the exact amount, but I know it was in the billions. Billions of dollars have been given by the USA to Israel. We won't get into the Israel conflict now. That will be a topic for another time or whatever. That'll be the topic, But these are the people. Let's take a look. These are the people who rule us. These warmongers, I call them warmongers because these are the people that rule us. Instead of feeding us adequately, instead of taking care of the economically deprived, oh my God, I shouldn't use big words, or instead of taking care of the poor people that exist in our society, what do? They take our cash and they say, oh, we're going to give it to our friends in Israel. We're going to give it to you. Or we're going to give it to our friends in the Ukraine too. Come on, people. Come on, people. Let's wake up here. Let's wake up or whatever. I mean, I don't know about you. You want to go vote, you can do anything you want. But me, as I told you before, I refuse. I refuse to participate in that political process because it's, like I said, it's a reality show. It's a reality show of illusion. Illusion where very little gets done. Very little gets done in the political level to address the social and economic needs of the society or whatever. So you want to go vote, go ahead. But I ain't going to participate in this charade or whatever it is, because it is a charade. That's all it is. It's a farce. It's a circus. What else? What other words? What other words can I use? I can't think of. I can't think of any. How do you say? I can't think of any other words in a sense or whatever. There's no authentic. I'm going to use this word. There's no authenticity. There's no. Politicians are not real people. They are like, to me, they're like the characters that you see in cinemas, okay? These are not real people. They're on a screen, yes, but they're not real people. They're not a part of real life. And to me, the politician is a puppet. The politician is a puppet. The politician is a doll. He's a doll. There for his own selfish, greedy needs, and there also for his friends, for his economic elite friends. This is what, I don't know, certain segments of the population don't seem to realize what's right in front of their eyes. Is it that they're afraid to look? I wonder sometimes why this is or whatever, If they're afraid to look or whatever, they can't face the reality. Maybe this is it. Some people can't face the reality or whatever. But we have to face reality because we are the ones who are living reality on a daily basis. We're living. And we're the ones who have to pay the freaking rent. We have to pay the electrical bills. We have to pay or whatever. And these people, like I said, they're not going to help us. In which way are they going to help us or whatever? Well, anyways, I left it. I've said quite a bit, I guess, to a certain extent. Oh yeah, I forgot because I was looking at my notes. When you see me turning, I'm looking at my notes a bit, and can you look at it? Can you look at an election debate? Are you able to look at an election debate from the beginning to the end of the debate? I'm never able to do that. I was never able to do that. I may be able to watch like 2 or 3 minutes or whatever of a debate in that sense, But I mean, it's a farce. It's a farce, the debate. Because if you really look at the debate, they're not really discussing the issues. I put it that they're like school kids in a freaking schoolyard shouting at one another and fighting with one another. This is what a debate is. The politicians get on the platform there, and from the minute they get-go, the first question is asked, oh no, I did this, I did that, I did this. Based on what? Based on, they invent these things, they invent these stories, oh, I created 7 million jobs I created. Oh my God. How many stories do they invent when it comes election time? We don't need rhetoric here. We don't need. We need someone. Unfortunately, you won't get that in politics. We need someone who's honest, and politics is not an honest business. I don't need to tell you. Anyways, thank you for your time.